welcome to Baturdays in the BatCave with me, OmniDog, and the Minister. How's it going, Minister of Comics?
I'm doing great. I'm ready to talk some tangents, answer some questions, and talk about our favorite comics to reread.
Yes. And we can also see what the chat likes to reread, what their top 5 books are to reread, and we can highlight them and put them on the screen. How's it going, everybody out there? Sazmurf already says, I'll probably rewatch this video several times itself.
And Lloyd Wong says these videos do have a rewatchability factor to them. So that's good to hear.
Oh, that's good to hear. Thank you, Lloyd. And Lloyd also says, awesome topic. Can't wait to see what people like to reread in their collection. Great topic, says Jeff. Thank you. It was Taylor's idea. He comes up with the topics. I'm happy to give credit where credit is due.
Have you come up with a topic before?
Shut up.
No, I'm trying to remember. I'm sure you have. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm sure you have.
Have I ever come up with a topic?
I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
I have to look through our videos.
You should be my new co-host for Baturdays. That was my top. No.
Oh, we go to quarter over it because I'm one of the co-creators.
Oh man.
We have a brutal court battle.
I'd have to go back and look at the list. Usually you've always been the idea guy.
Yeah, I'm looking through our list right now. I'm just trying to see what sparks my memory. I'm sure you have at some point.
Yeah, I am aligned with the Wonder Woman torso here.
Yeah, all you do is stand up a little bit, and so she can be your head. I'm at a loss looking through our list, but I'm sure a couple of them are yours.
It's hard with this mirroring. I can't get my body over.
And you have somebody watching us for the first time live.
Oh,
Gabriel Ringenberg.
Ringenberg?
Yeah.
Hey, Gabriel. Thank you. Like Gaiman and McFarlane fighting over Angela. Right. This show is the fourth sibling of Odin and Frida.
And Angela's from what? I can't remember when she originally started. Spawn.
Gaiman created her for Spawn, I believe, and then how did she get over to
Marvel?
Yeah, how did she chat? How did she? I know she was created in Spawn, but how did she make it over to Marvel?
Aren't there people who are pretty mad about her coming to Marvel? Like, wasn't Omar not a fan or something?
He's never been a fan of Angela.
Okay. I know if there were some people who were annoyed whenever she came over to the Marvel universe because she started in the Spawn universe. I don't really know anything about her.
Gaiman won the lawsuit and sold her to Marvel.
Interesting.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, they're both millionaires, so either way.
Well, yeah.
They both have a ton of money. Did you see the behind the scenes of the Sandman TV show with Neil Gaiman? They showed some of the background stuff and some of their props. It looks a lot like the comic. I think you'd be interested in watching it. Oh, the Netflix show.
Is that a Netflix show?
Yeah, again, it's Netflix, so I don't know if I really want to get that excited about it because Netflix seems to act shows way too early. Like, give it a season, then they're done. They rarely get past 3 seasons with shows. 3 seasons seems to be their max, like with Daredevil, and I guess House of Cards is one of the only ones, but I just get annoyed that Netflix always cancels. I didn't care about Jupiter's Legacy. I never watched it. I'm glad I didn't watch it because it got canceled after 1 season.
Yeah. Did it even make 1 season? They had a full season?
Yeah, it had a full season, but they're deciding to go with Super Crooks, it's a villains show set in that same universe. It seems weird to cancel a show and then do a spinoff right away. It seems to kind of go against narrative logic there, but whatever. I want to watch Sweet Tooth. I want to watch Sweet Tooth, but I'm waiting until that gets confirmed for a 2nd season. I'm not going to watch a whole 1st season and then be annoyed. There's nothing else coming.
What does Netflix base it on? Do they have a way of knowing how many viewers a show actually gets?
Because every single on Netflix they have a rating of 1 to 10, the top 10, so they have to be able to rate that. but they rarely ever share their numbers with the public. That's the thing that annoys people. But these shows cost so much money. The question isn't, was it watched a lot? Is it financially feasible to do another season when it's going to be more expensive? Because stars want more money. They're going to need bigger budgets, things like that. So they always cut and decide not to go to the show because they're worried it's not going to make the money back, even though a lot of people watch it.
Okay. So obviously everybody's been watching Secret Things or Stranger Things because this is getting ready for a 4th season.
Well, that's like a cultural anomaly. That's like a huge cultural touchstone, which I don't think Jupiter's Legacy was ever going to be, because that's a show that everyone can watch. A teenager can watch, adults can watch. I think it has like a really big general appeal to it. It's all about nostalgia, basically. So people your age and a little bit younger can remember the 80s and feel that nostalgia for movies like E.T. and things like that, whereas younger kids see teenagers on screen, they want to watch it. Whereas I don't think Jupiter's Legacy had that cross-age appeal that Stranger Things does.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does. I'm still bitter that, I know you don't care, but I'm still bitter that Anne with an E got canceled after 3
Oh, it got canceled.
Sorry?
I didn't know it got canceled.
Yeah, it did.
You just can't trust Netflix anymore. They just never know. And I'm definitely waiting with Sweet Tooth until it gets, whenever Sweet Tooth gets a confirmed 2nd season, I'll try it. Until then, I'm not going to waste my time. I am glad that Castlevania wrapped up with its 4th season.
And I just heard it got a spin-off, but do we know if Warren Ellis is involved in it?
He's not going to be involved with it. So I'm excited somewhat. It really depends on who's writing it.
Yeah.
And who's behind it. It's going to be hard to beat Warren Ellis. I mean, I understand why they're not bringing him back, but it's just he was the reason that show was so successful. I mean, obviously the voice acting and the action was great and the animation was great, but that's nothing if the story sucks. And his story was top-notch.
Right. I also need to take this opportunity to introduce our new sponsor.
Netflix.
So, Netflix. Yeah. I'm going to show, let's see. Can I do this? DyingBreedCollectors.com. It's all one word, but I spelled it out that way with spaces so you could see how to spell it. DyingBreedCollectors.com is a friend of mine's, and I've known him for a while through the Facebook group. He started an online bookstore specializing in collected editions. Dying Breed Collectors is starting it off with a bang because from now, today is Saturday, June 12th through Monday at midnight, June 14th. Use the code OmniDog and you get 10% off any Marvel Omnibus. So we will be promoting Dying Breed Collectors a few times this show and reminding you that for 48 hours or till midnight, June 14th, 2021, in case anybody's watching this in the future, code OmniDog gets you 10% off any Marvel Omnibus from DyingBreedCollectors.com. How about that? We got a sponsor.
And he used to have a pretty big eBay store for a while, so he's been in the business for a while. It's not just a brand new young gun. He's been doing this for a couple of years, I think, so he has some mileage behind him and some trustworthiness built up. Right.
I wouldn't accept him as a sponsor unless I trusted him, quite frankly. So I do trust him, and I know that he'll package well, and his selection will only get bigger. It's a decent size now, but it'll just keep getting bigger and bigger as he continues to grow. So go to DyingBreedCollectors.com, all one word. I spelled it out here so you could, spell. Use the code OmniDog for 10% off any Marvel Omnibus. How about that?
And people keep saying that they thought Super Squad D was going to be our sponsor. He's too busy spending money on toys.
Yeah. No, I couldn't do it.
And Super Laugh Hard is a question for you.
Oh, Super Laugh Hard also made the comment, I lived through the 80s and a lot of it sucked. And I agree with that. I don't think anybody should have a nostalgia for the 70s. I think the 70s were even worse. And
what was wrong with the 80s? The Cold War?
Oh, I don't know. It wasn't that, I mean, it was fine because I was happy to live through it. But now I'm trying to get the banner up. Okay, there we go. The 80s.
The 70s were a pretty good time.
Sorry?
The 70s were probably a pretty interesting time to be alive. A lot of cool movies, a lot of cool music.
Yeah, true. And the 80s did have a lot of my favorite music that I still listen to, like Echo and the Bunnymen and stuff like that.
Great movies, too.
Yeah. I think maybe when I think of the 80s, I think of how gyms and fitness places all had the leg warming girls with the big poofy hair and shoulder pads. And I look at that 80s part, that 80s mall scene in Stranger Things, and it makes me want to get sick. It just looks awful to me. Because I can remember those 80s malls, and I'm glad they're dead and that a new type of mall has been created. Those indoor malls were awful, I thought.
We still have indoor malls.
Just about all of ours around here have been converted to outdoor malls again. They went from outdoor to indoor to outdoor. I don't think there are indoor malls out in California where I grew up. They're all outdoor. Let's see. I missed some questions. Comics and prints saved the 80s. Well, starting in 85, yeah, I agree with comics.
There's a lot of awesome movies from the 80s.
Yeah, sure. You are a huge movie buff. I'm proud. You put me on the spot. I probably couldn't come up with 5 movies from the 80s.
The 70s is also a great time for, especially crime movies. I watched one for the first time last night. I watched John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13, the original.
I don't think I've seen it.
And I never knew this about John Carpenter. He has written, directed, and scored most of his movies.
Yeah, I do have a lot of albums.
Except for The Thing, which is by Ennio Morricone, who did Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, A Fistful of Dollars, things like that. But it's really interesting to kind of see that he scores his movies, too. That's awesome.
And he's actually really, really good. I have a lot of his albums, and he's amazingly talented.
Do you have Escape from New York?
The soundtrack?
Yeah.
No, but I did love that movie.
Did you ever watch the sequel, Escape from LA?
I hated that movie.
When he's surfing?
Yeah, I hated that. I loved Escape from New York, though.
Is there a cooler action movie name than Snake Plissken? That's like one of the coolest names ever.
No, yeah, totally. You're right.
I have never seen Big Trouble in Little China. I do need to watch that.
I saw that. I like that. I have that soundtrack. The 80s is when Lloyd Wong discovered Dark Knight Returns, Legion of Superheroes, and New Teen Titans. That was a fantastic time. I'll throw in, of course, Watchmen, Batman Year One.
Sandman started then.
Sandman started. Hellblazer started then.
Listen to some of these movies, Jess, from the 80s. Goonies, Back to the Future, The Thing, Empire Strikes Back, Revenge of the Nerds. That's a Raiders of the Lost Ark, all the good Indiana Jones movies. That was a great time for movies.
Oh, yeah, it was. Well, Empire Strikes Back is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I think The Thing is one of my favorite horror movies. That movie is disturbing and gross.
It is.
Did you see that movie in the theaters, or did you watch it after the fact?
The Thing?
Yeah.
I saw it in theaters.
Were people like grossed out in the theater? And like, I feel like that's a pretty intense movie when you're watching it for the first time, especially back in the 80s when there's nothing really like that before.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Do we know what year? Can you tell me what year it came out? I'll tell you what girl I took to it.
1982 is when it came out.
Oh, okay. I took myself to it. In 1982, I did not have a girlfriend for the entire year. I was living at home with my parents. So I went by myself or with my probably with my best friend, because we saw that and Alien and Aliens together.
Yeah, The Thing wouldn't be a good makeout movie.
No.
You made out during Schindler's List?
Boom. Just ordered an Omni from Dying Breed Collectors. Good for
Awesome.
you, Josh. Did you use the code OmniDog to save 10% on all Marvel Omnis? Because that's our new sponsor for everybody tuning in right now. If you go to, okay, let me see if I can do it. No. Yes.
Oh, Gabriel Ringenberg, I feel so bad. The only Indiana Jones movie he's seen is Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. You have to rectify that as soon as possible.
You got to see the first one.
You got to see Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and Last Crusade. Just forget that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull ever came out. Just forget it.
Is that the one? That was the second one, right?
No, Temple of Doom's the second one.
Temple of Doom.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out in 2008.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, and it wasn't good. And they're making a fifth one. It's like, just stop. Just stop. He's too old. He's almost 80. He's not going to be able to do anything.
I don't know if Dying Breed delivers to the UK. You could probably contact him and ask. It's probably expensive shipping that you'd have to pick up. So I would contact Dying Breed Collectors. Code worked like a charm. Good. That's good.
I'm pretty sure he has a flat rate shipping for US. I'm not sure about the UK, like you said, though.
Yeah, I would kind of doubt that he ships to the UK. That question has never come up before because I just started promoting it.
And Rich L, I think that the movie The Fly, that's probably one of the grossest movies I've ever seen. It's a great movie, but man, when he starts turning into the fly, he starts throwing up on his food. That's just like, oh, disgusting.
Brindlefly or whatever.
But that was a great movie, though.
Yeah.
I think that and The Thing are the grossest like 80s horror movies I can think of.
Yeah, no, you're right. I did not take a gal to that movie.
Both of those movies, that's not a good one to try to make out with a girl during the theater.
I'm not picking up on this reference because I don't think I've seen the episode from Big Bang.
It's basically, if you take Indiana Jones out of the movie, it's the same result. They take the Ark and Nazis get killed at the end. So they basically say in the episode, it wouldn't have mattered if Indiana Jones was in the movie at all. It would have been the same result.
Oh.
But who cares? It's still my favorite movie ever.
Oh, your favorite movie ever? Number one?
I still have my poster over there.
Oh, nice.
I got that when I was 16 years old from my parents.
Oh, sweet.
That's my favorite movie. That's the movie that made me love movies.
That made you love movies. How old were you? 16?
No, I was probably like 7 or 8 when I saw it for the first time.
Oh, okay.
My parents just got me that when I was 16 or 17 because they knew I loved the movie so much.
Taylor, I don't think likes. Do you care for horror movies in general? You don't like them like I like them, right?
I don't love them as much as you do, but I will watch them. Like I said earlier, The Thing is great. I mean, I guess you consider Alien a horror movie, right? That's kind of like a sci-fi horror movie.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge like jump scare person. I'm more like creepy under the skin type of stuff. I think jump scares get really old and it's not really that exciting. I had to think about that though, about some other horror movies that I like. I've seen a lot of horror movies I don't like, but I don't know. I like horror movies that try to say something and they have some creepiness going for it, not just schlocky jump scares. I don't know how you feel about that, Jess.
Well, I don't like jump scares just for the sake of jump scares, but I love I do love being scared for some reason. That's what Jenny and I used to talk about all the time when we would analyze those horror movies when we did that. Why we were so attracted to those kind of movies. Why we would put ourselves through that. Especially the the last movie I feel like the last movie we reviewed was Don't Breathe.
Ooh, that was awesome. I love that movie.
I have never been so physically affected by a movie in my life. I watched that on my laptop at like 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. because the show was at noon, and I had to watch this. I had to watch the movie, and I was absolutely shaking for the next 2 hours. That was really, really unsettling and amazing. Don't Breathe was.
What a horrific ending it is, and when you find out what's really going on in that basement.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a long discussion about that.
That's like sometimes like Kate and I will walk around the neighborhood. It's like I feel like those would be the people in our neighborhood who have something weird going on in their house we don't want to know about. Do you ever think about that? Like drive around, be like, there's something weird going on at that house.
No, I don't want to think about that. Now I'm doomed.
Well, I think horror movies kind of allow you to experience your worst fears in a safe environment. Like you get to see these horrible things happen and kind of get a cathartic release out of it, but you still come out alive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like someone coming after you, monsters, aliens, parasites. You're able to kind of experience these fears that we all have about life, but still come out intact. I think that's why we like it so much, or some people like it so much.
Hayden has seen the new Conjuring movie. That's good to know that you think it's great. You and I have similar taste in a lot of things, Hayden. I loved the first two Conjurings, so I don't like possessed dolls, so I never saw Annabelle. I don't like any possessed dolls or anything.
You're gonna have to watch it pretty soon, or I think it's only on HBO Max for a month. You want to watch it.
Speaking of that, where is Superman and Lois right now? Lois.
It's on CW.
CW.
I go on Xfinity on demand and watch it. It's still on there if you have on demand stuff.
Okay, I do. Wait, we're talking about Lois, Superman and Lois?
Right.
Okay.
It's probably better just to record it too. You can set up a series recording from now on.
Oh yeah, I should do that. I still haven't watched Crisis on Infinite Earths from 2020 and 2019, which surprises absolutely no one, I bet.
I'm only sticking with Superman and Lois from now on because yet it hasn't been connected to the other shows. And I mean, he's been appeared in other shows and he's shown up, but they haven't referenced any other show yet. At least that I have noticed. It seems pretty self-contained. Is
that the death knell for is that when it jumps the shark, when it's switched over to connect with Batwoman or something?
I don't want to watch Batwoman. I'm done with the Flash. It's just too much to keep track of. But Superman and Lois, I think the budget is somewhat bigger. They have less episodes. It's a little more focused. It's not as campy. And so I really enjoy it.
I love that first episode, but that's all I got to see.
I've watched 5 or 6. I'm not caught up, but I'm pretty close. I think I have 2 or 3 more to watch. And I've enjoyed every episode so far.
Next to Imagine That, I have not seen Martyrs. I'm not familiar with it. If you could sum it up in a few words, I'd be interested in seeing it. I have not seen Mothman Prophecies, but I've read about him. I know what Mothman is an urban legend. Doom Patrol and Happy. I forgot about that.
I watched the first season of that, I think.
Oh, what's it on?
I think it got canceled after 2 seasons.
Is that Netflix or Hulu? Or
it's on Netflix, I think, but it was originally on Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi also canceled every single show. They canceled Deadly Class after season 1. So
there was
what's that?
There was a really good show on Sci-Fi that got canceled, and I really liked it, but I can't even remember how to.
What was it about?
Describe. I can't think of how to describe it. They had a big wall, a giant fortress that protected this inner city, and it had an alien race. They were very white, like albino with white hair, and so long ago that I saw it, it felt like a Western almost.
I'm not sure.
It was really good, but I think it ended on a cliffhanger, and I stopped watching it, and I was really unhappy. Not the Dome or Haven.
Colony.
I wonder if it was Colony. Did it have? They always got the husband and wife alien, super white, dressed in white everything. They got in a big pool, a hot pool. I think to have relations or something. Under the Dome, was that it?
No, Under the Dome's a Stephen King adaptation.
Oh, okay.
Are you sure this wasn't something you dreamed about, Jess?
I'm sorry?
Are you sure you didn't dream this show up in your mind and visit it every night?
No, this is a real show.
V? No, I think that was a different.
No, it wasn't V.
I guess we'll never know.
It was almost a Western, but I can't put the. I shouldn't have brought it up. I'm stupid. I'm sorry.
Everyone, just delete the last 2 minutes out of your mind.
Don't pay attention to what I just said. It's dumb. I'll think of it later.
A3N has a good question at 826.
826.
All the comments after that are people like guessing what show you're talking about. Oh, Wynonna Earp, is that it?
I do like Wynonna Earp. That's not it, but it is good.
Now I just want to know.
Are the Black Label Hill House comics overrated? I've enjoyed every one that I've read, and I've read all of them.
I only have two. I really enjoyed Plunge and Basket Full of Heads. I picked those up because I love Joe Hill. The other ones weren't written by him, but I've heard at least a decent portion of them are good. I can't speak to them. I can only speak to the two that I've read.
I've read 4 of them, and I liked all 4. I mean, I can go out and grab them, but I liked all 4 of them that I read a lot. Enough that I kept them in my collection. Anything I don't think I'm going to reread, the topic we're actually going to talk about tonight, anything I don't think I'm going to reread, I get rid of once I've read it.
So you have a purge coming up, right? Another purge of books you're not going to reread?
Yeah.
So what is involved in a purge? Do you go through every single shelf and look at every single book? Like, what's your method of madness for that?
Well, it's going to be, I think the first easy part is books that I've read that I'm not going to read again.
Like on your shirt?
Sorry?
Like the book on your shirt?
I haven't read it yet. And then it's books like this that I don't think I'm ever going to read. I'm still wrestling with Batman and Superman Golden Age. If they actually start putting out Silver Age, then I will get rid of them. I'm holding out because that's room. I would make room for Silver Age by getting rid of Golden Age. Got it. Omnidog Purge is the Forever Purge. I am forever purging. I've read we both read Batman Universe by Bendis. Did I like it more than you did, or do we like it equally? You liked it better than I did, but I still enjoyed it. Yeah. Batman was a bit too chatty in that for me. Right. That's what it was. But we have a review of it that you can go back and watch in our back catalog. Yeah. I feel like that was last year. Was that last year? I think we reviewed that. I can't remember what else we reviewed. I can't remember. That was back last summer, I think. Gabriel, I am going to be answering that question for you tonight in stories that we like to reread, because there is a Batman story in there. And whenever we get to our topic, everyone, don't jump ship. Comment in the chat and interact. Don't leave us. I think we're going to have to weave the topic in with tangents. Don't hurt our feelings. Yeah, we'll weave the topic in with tangents. We'll get off on tangents during the main topic. Don't worry. And don't forget to go to dyingbreedcollectors.com, all one word. Use the code OmniDog for 10% off Marvel Omnis. They are a new sponsor. Eventually, we'll have T-shirts that we will wear occasionally, saying dyingbreedcollectors.com, I guess. But go to dyingbreedcollectors.com, use the code OmniDog for 10% off all Marvel Omnis.
And Derek Tyler, I can wholeheartedly say that Jess and I do not have year 2 on our list.
Year 2 got purged so long ago.
I read it digitally, so
I'm sure I had it, and I'm sure it got like early purged, like almost after I read it.
Well, actually, the first time I read it was back when I was like 9 or 10. I got it from the library, and I saw Batman had a gun on the cover. I'm like, this looks dumb, but I'll still check it out because I didn't like Batman with guns. And I read it. I'm like, yeah, that was dumb. And then I reread it for our show with Omar, and it was even dumber somehow.
Everybody thinks what I watched is Defiance. Okay, let me look up Defiance. That sounds like it could be right.
Yeah, and Kate Riley, come on, guys, push the like button. 60 people watching, only 15 thumbs up. Thumbs up really help us. Thumbs down even help us. We obviously prefer thumbs up, but if you hate us, give us a thumbs down.
Yep, you're exactly right, everybody. Defiance was the name of it.
Ooh, Lloyd Wong brings up a good point, Jess. Are we going to do our trash talking Tyler segment tonight?
Oh, we forgot. What's wrong with Tyler Blunt, right?
Yes. And do you remember what we said we were going to talk about? We texted about it the other day. Can you remember?
We did. There's so many things to choose from, though.
How about his overreaction to his scooter injury? Which he's pretty mad at us about, so we might as well double down, right? Tyler had a traumatic scooter injury the other day, and he actually had a rapping live show the other night where he clapped his hands together where he hurt himself and he like screamed on air. So apparently he's very hurt. And he's been talking about it at nonstop with me and Jess. And Jess just called him out today, and it was so funny.
Well, I'm the one that fell and broke my hand, and the women stood around me and watched doing nothing for 30 seconds, obliterating my manhood. So I think I get the prize for dorkiest injury. That's better than a scooter injury.
Yeah, Lloyd Wong's asking about the scooter injury. I don't know all the details. I just know Tyler was riding scooters with his daughter, and he wiped out. That's all I really know.
He thought that Evie hurt herself, and so he bailed on the scooter ride down the hill, and because he was worried about her, which is legit. And he tumbled, and he had some pretty darn good scrape ups. I was reminded of the last time I fell off my skateboard back in the 80s. I looked like that, and I said, my skateboard days are over, because that when you take off those first 2 layers of skin, that really hurts.
Thinking about you skateboarding reminds me of that Steve Buscemi scene from 30 Rock. What's up, my fellow kids?
But I was in my 20s.
I've only known you at this age, so I can't really imagine
true.
you. Well, I have watched your videos from back in the 90s, so I can picture kind of what you look like around that era. Even that was like dad, Jess.
Yeah, but it wasn't that much before that. Let's see, in those shows, I was 33 to 35. And my last skateboarding accident was when I was 27. So it wasn't that far removed.
And N-Man, I wish that Tyler had been rapping Presence on a live show. Unfortunately, he was rapping with an RA, not an WRA.
He was freestyle rapping, as he calls it.
Jess and I tried to get on and talk him out of it, but when he started rapping again, we bailed.
Oh, dude, sorry. I already sold that long ago. Sorry, Adrian.
He sold someone the Akira box set and a pile of dust on top of it.
That's right. It's no longer on my floor gathering dust.
And Farhan had a question earlier. Great to see you in the chat, Farhan. I know it's early for you. He asked if we had read Upgrade Soul. Have you read that before, Jess? It's a little bit further up.
I have it, and both Maddie and Kristen love it, recommend it, but they also say it's emotionally exhausting. So it's not the first thing I look to grab, because I'm not necessarily looking for emotionally exhausting right now. I'm trying to right now in this summer, because I'm having so many physical issues, I'm trying to keep my reading really light. because I get so depressed when I'm in pain. So Upgrade Soul, we'll probably have to wait till the fall once I finally get my pain issues under control.
And next, Imaginaut, you're in the chat, and I remember you mentioning some crime books that you wanted Jess and I to check out. Can you remind me what those were? Because Tyler took that video down, and so I can't go back and look at your recommendations. So remind me of what your crime book recommendations were. Was Tyler on pain meds that night?
Yeah, no, I don't. He just had Tylenol. He doesn't. I don't even think he drank. So
Tyler's always at that. He's always at that energy level, so he can get there whenever he wants.
Yeah. So somebody asked you earlier if you had seen Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Was that with Gary Oldman?
Yeah, that's with Gary Oldman. That's based on a Jean Le Carré novel. I read the first book in that series, and it was decent. And for some reason, I tried to start reading Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy like 11 o'clock at night. And the opening chapter was so long, and it was so complex. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on right now. I'll try this book another day. I'm like, I hope my mind was just reeling. I was like, I can't read this right now. I want to get back to it. I heard the movie is at least a good watch. I've even heard that the original miniseries with Alec Guinness is really good. And I've only seen one thing. I've only seen one thing with Alec Guinness, and that's Star Wars. I've never seen anything else. He's in that. He's also in. Is it Bridge Over River Kwai? Is that what he's in?
Yeah,
I've never seen that. I have to see it.
Oh, that was great.
One of my goals is to watch all the movies on the AFI 100 list. I think I'm like halfway there. There's a lot of movies I haven't watched, and I listen to a podcast that goes through each movie after I watch it.
This is my first time hearing of Tyler. So is he? I think he's one of my better friends, and he's a great guy. He does great action figure photography. That I think is his newest passion. He is on SSD Toys on Facebook. I'm sorry, on YouTube and Instagram. SSD Toys. Super Squad D. I read the Valiant Universe. I read 4 or 5 books a while ago, and I dug it enough to keep collecting it. Those are not getting purged because I really liked them a lot.
I've only read Britannia, but I love that book.
Oh, I love that book too.
One thing I will say about Valiant hardcovers, they smell strange. They have a weird odor to them.
Where's a Valiant book? Let me get one and see what it smells like.
And Cade Riley, I have seen Quiet Place Part 2. My wife and I saw it last week in the theater, and it was great. I really liked it. I love the first movie too.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen the first one?
I haven't.
It's awesome.
My horror movie watching, or whatever it is, thriller movie watching, has dropped since I stopped doing the show with Jenny.
It's a really great franchise. I'm excited for the second one. Definitely leads into a third one, so I'm excited for the close to the franchise, whenever that will be.
Okay, here's Shadow Man.
Ooh, I do want to pick that up because it's written by our friend Danny Diggle.
Yeah,
I'll say he's our friend because we talked to him once.
Maybe it was just book to me.
Well, it might just been the Britannia. It might just been the Britannia hardcover. It might not be all of them. I can only speak to that one hardcover.
Okay, Gabriel, that's cool. Thank you for letting us know. No problemo.
You're happy to have you here. I do want to read more Valiant Universe. I do want to pick that up again because it's by Andy Diggle and it sounds interesting. I think Cullen Bunn did a run on Shadow Man after that run wrapped up. I think it's actually Cullen Bunn and John Davis Hunt, who is awesome.
Oh, gosh, his art is awesome.
He is probably the most underrated artist I can think of. No one ever talks about him, and he's amazing.
What book is this we're talking about?
Shadow Man. I'm pretty sure that after the Andy Diggle run, there's a Cullen Bunn run, and the art is John Davis Hunt.
After this book?
I'm pretty confident.
Okay.
I do want to pick that up, though.
Great. Taylor has read this. I haven't read it yet.
It's my first Constantine book ever, and I loved it. It's definitely new reader friendly. Obviously, 'cause it's a Black Label book, it's not connected to the regular Hellblazer run. And then after that, I read John Constantine Hellblazer by Spurrier, which was also fantastic. That ending was great. I don't think you finished it though, did you?
What?
Did you finish the last Constantine trade by Spurrier?
I haven't yet.
Oh, it was great.
I haven't read this book either by Tom Taylor.
It'll simultaneously feel satisfying and also make you angry that they're not continuing with it, because there's a big plot thread that you're just like, oh my gosh, I want to see what happens with that so bad.
No.
It's so frustrating. But it does wrap up, but it's like I would love to see where this one plot thread would go.
And the answer is yes. Both Taylor and I love Warren Ellis's Wildstorm. A lot of it has to do with John Davis Hunt's art. Divinity I read. It is great. And I haven't read Bloodshot Reborn yet. This is a good time for people new to the chat for me to tell you about DyingBreedCollectors.com. It's all one word. They're our new sponsor. And if you go to DyingBreedCollectors.com and use the code OmniDog, you get 10% off any Marvel Omnibus from right now till the end of Monday, midnight, June 14th. So right now, June 12th, 2021, till the end of Monday night at midnight, 10% off any Marvel Omnibus using the code OmniDog. So do that.
And Jess, I know you're not picking up the Spider-Gwen Omni because you have all that material in hardcover and paperback, but Cade Riley wants to know if it's worth picking up.
Yes. Why don't you pick it up from DyingBreedCollectors.com and get 10% off using code OmniDog? Who says it's not very good? Maybe you should read a couple issues, maybe read the first trade online and see if you're into it. I liked it a lot. I would say I loved it. I'm happy. I didn't love it as much as All New Wolverine, but I loved it enough that I collected all 3 hardcovers and then all the dopey trades that came out after it.
And Ray Valesco is talking about a new animated show on Netflix called Trace. If you're interested in detective crime stories with supernatural elements.
Ooh.
That does sound interesting.
That does.
That sounds like something both of us would like.
I like anything with supernatural elements, especially crime stories.
I think my favorite supernatural crime book would have to be Black Magic.
Absolutely.
I can't wait for the next hardcover, whenever that's going to be. I think there's still another trade that needs to come out. Another arc that needs to come out. But I can't wait to read that. Such a great series.
Let's see. I will go with my first reread book that I love to reread. Comics that we love to reread. My first one is going to be Batman by Azarello and Eduardo Riso.
And while Jess talks about that, don't leave the chat. Ask your questions. Talk about your favorite books to reread. Lead us off into tangents. Don't leave. Stay here with us.
Yeah.
Keep going, Jess. I just wanted to say it before anybody left.
Well, that's good. Because it contains Batman Night of Vengeance. My favorite, I was going to say the greatest story ever of Batman, but that's debatable. What's not debatable is it's my favorite Batman story ever, Night of Vengeance. I love rereading this. It doesn't bother me that I know the surprise in it. I love the surprise in it. I told him to his face after I had trashed Batman Damned. I saw him at Baltimore Con and I said I thought it was brilliant. And he and I got into a conversation. And he was a very nice guy. And I'm talking about Brian Azarello. I love Night of Vengeance. And I like all the other stories in here too. Some people do not like
Broken City. I liked it.
I liked Broken City. I love Night of Vengeance, and it is weird to see the Wednesday comics so tiny in here. When I have the giant version of Wednesday comics, which I thought was a great idea by DC, kind of unwieldy, but still a neat idea.
If it had been like an absolute size or something, it would have been a lot easier to read those portions because it was so tiny to read some of the text.
Yeah, I have Wednesday Comics. It's one of my tallest books. But yeah, this is my first choice to reread.
And my first choice is my favorite Batman book ever, which I've talked about nonstop on this channel, and that's Batman Mythology by Tomasi and Doug Mahnke. This book is so underrated. No one ever talks about this book besides me, it seems like. But I love this story so much. There's so many cool moments. The ending is unexpected. It's very poignant and really explains why Batman is so amazing and why he's my favorite character of all time. I recommend that you buy this book. You don't even have to buy the rest of the series. It's very much a self-contained story. So please pick up Batman Detective Comics Mythology if you haven't already. I know Jess doesn't like it as much as I do, but you did really enjoy it.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, but it doesn't. Yeah, no, it's not in my top 5 like it is yours. But I really, really enjoyed it.
But it's definitely worth the pickup if you're a Batman fan and you don't have it yet.
And Marcelo brings up a really good point. Tom King's Batman and Superman double date story. That is one of the greatest stories ever for me. I love that story. I didn't pick it, but I'm picking it now. It's too much of a hassle for me to wade through the action figures that are in front of it. But I agree with that. That is such a fun story. That is such a fun story.
And Prisco 10 is talking about Batman and says his Batman rereads are Long Halloween, Hush, and Killing Joke, and all of Paul Dini's Batman.
And I haven't read any Paul Dini Batman, so I need to do it.
Oh, you haven't read that yet?
No.
Oh, I might reread. I'll reread that with you, Jess. I do want to reread that again.
Okay. Farhan, the answer is yes. The Wildstorm by Ellis reboot is fantastic. It's 4 trades. I would upgrade that because of the art. The art's awesome. Story's awesome. If they did that in a deluxe or an absolute or something,
it'd probably be an omnibus because 24 issues. That's big for a deluxe. It's a small omni. It'd probably be like a $75 omni. But I would definitely upgrade that. That's my favorite Warren Ellis. I even like it better than the original Authority book, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
And that's a big statement because I love the original Authority book.
Yeah.
I just love how he streamlined it. And I think the John Davis art is he's the artist throughout the whole entire series, which is also very uncommon in mainstream comics.
Yeah, because in Gail Simone's, what book was that? It's I have
Clean Room.
Sorry,
Clean Room.
Clean Room. Yeah, he only did the first 2 trades, and it was I mean, the art was fine in the 3rd trade, but it wasn't John Davis Hunt, and you noticed it.
I think we've talked about in the past how we think that potentially single issue floppies might be going away soon and replaced with maybe digital issues or going straight to graphic novels. That is one of the benefits of going more with collected editions, is that you can have time to have an artist do a whole entire run, a whole entire series. Because that's one thing. Trying to keep up with the monthly grind is impossible for artists. And trying to do 12 books a year is impossible now. With how detailed art is now, back when you were a kid, they could churn out how many issues a month, like 4 or 5. Because it wasn't as. I'm not saying the art was bad. I'm not saying art was terrible back then.
What are you saying, Taylor?
I'm gonna get canceled. No, but
Canceled Minister of Comics.
Do you know what I mean? That was less detailed. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad. Just saying art has come a long way. It's a lot more detailed, and so artists can't really keep up with that monthly schedule for the most part. And I just hate whenever you get to a really important part of the series and it's like a totally different artist. It doesn't match the tone at all. I think you mentioned that with the recent James Bond book that you read, which we'll review sometime soon.
Yeah.
Where the last issue was like a totally different artist and it kind of took you out of the experience.
Yeah, it did. I did tell you I got the Felix Leiter book, right?
Yeah, my order's coming in Tuesday, so we could probably do that James Bond Crime Corner pretty soon.
Goody.
I'm going to read those right when they come in.
Gabrielle has a question.
I believe it is he wants to know when the surprise was. At the end of the 2nd or 3rd issue. And let's see. It's the The end of the second issue. Wait, no. Yeah. It's the end of the second issue.
Hayden has renamed me the Minister of Cancel.
Cancel at ministerofcomics.com. And while you're at it, cancel me too.
And Cycle Cleveland's in the chat, by the way.
Oh, Cycle. The next Crime Corner will feature your review of Reckless. Bring it, dude. That's great.
Jess really wants to have you on camera with us.
What's that?
You always wanted to have Cycle on the show with us, haven't you?
I have. It's one of those things that I know I'm going to regret, but there's a devil on my shoulder that makes me want to have Cycle on because I've had him as a fan for so long. We've argued about Gang of Four forever.
It's almost better that we don't know what he looks like or sounds like. It's kind of like in a horror movie where the monster and the villain is scarier when you don't see them very much.
That's
and if
true.
you see them too much, it's kind of ruined. So Cycle, if we see your face and hear your voice, we might lose some of that Cycle Cleveland appeal, right?
The mystique of Cycle.
The mystique, right.
Yeah. You know what? That was my feeling about not From Hell, A Walk Through Hell by Garth Ennis. I felt like the reveal of the monster lessened it. It would have been a lot better if we had not seen it. That's what I think. I will be on the show in person one day. I do think I will not live up to my crazy persona. Well, we can't use that. We need you crazy. Here's Gabriel asking a question. Should I upgrade my Batman by Loeb and sale trade paperbacks to the Omni? I don't have Catwoman When in Rome. I would like to read it. I think you should. If you don't have an Omni yet, Gabriel, right? That'd be a good first Omni for you to get. That's also referred to as my pain pill Omni. But
and Dying Breed Collector does have that on his website. I did notice that he had that.
DyingBreedCollectors.com. If you go there right now, Dying Breed Collectors is all one word, .com, and use the code OmniDog, you will get 10% off any Marvel Omni, until the end of Monday night at midnight, June 12th through June 14th. So go there right now. Keep us on, but go there, open it up a different tab. Go there and look for like Spider-Gwen or All New Wolverine or something like that and get 10% off. Those are good books.
Well, let me go with my second choice. It's also Batman. So we'll continue the Batman trend. This isn't the most original of choices, but I'm lumping them together because it's by the same writer, and that's Frank Miller's Year One and Dark Knight Returns. I don't know how many times I've read these. Probably like a dozen times each since I was like 12 or 13. And it's really hard to beat these. Like, these are in my top two. These are my top three Batman books. The one I just mentioned, Mythology, these are my favorite Batman books. So it's kind of hard for these to be beat for me. So I reread those all the time. And so
Mythology is up there with Dark Knight Returns for you.
It's my favorite.
Yeah.
I think, because like we talked about, I think Joachim, I know I probably didn't say it right, 2 weeks ago or last week asked us what defines our comic collecting. And I said for Jess, it's fun. And for me, Jess said aspirational. So comics can motivate us to be better and to care for people in a greater way. I think that's what Mythology does. It shows us who Batman is and what he's willing to sacrifice to take care of Gotham City and to be the hero we need him to be. And that's why I really love it. It's kind of like a love letter to who Batman is and why he is so impactful. And that's why I like it so much.
And I like that we knew each other's comic personalities so well that we knew each other's answer.
But we couldn't think of ourselves. We had to have the other person tell us.
That's actually true.
We were both like, I don't know, for me.
My second pick is Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, the whole book, but specifically, I like every story in here. These are Alan Moore Superman stories. The first by, is it just Kurt Swan or is Murphy Anderson in there too? It's just Kurt Swan, which is still amazing. Oh, cover inks by Murphy Anderson. Okay. Oh, wait, that's the cover. Wait, what's going on here? Alan Moore, Kurt Swan, and George Perez are the artists. Okay. This was a way for DC to close the door on the Silver Age and bring Superman into the modern age, followed up by, I don't know, Man of Steel or whatever it was. And all the Silver Age tropes that I grew up loving as a kid were finished off in here. This is a cartoon dog. It doesn't exist, but I cry every time I read Crypto dying to save his master. That's like we were talking about the dog episode of Futurama. Did you ever see Futurama?
I watched a couple episodes. I was never a huge, massive fan.
Okay. But it's really well written, and it puts a perfect ending on the Silver Age and closes it off in a very nice package with a nice bow on it. And it appeals to me specifically because these are all characters that I knew growing up. And when you grow up with characters, I think everybody out there in the chat or anybody out there viewing this grows up with nostalgia and fondness, no matter how good or bad the comics were, because there's lots of people that love Nightfall because they grew up with it. I don't particularly care for it, but I understand the nostalgia and love that people it was in their childhood. Same with Death and Return of Superman. That happened in the same ballpark. So this speaks directly to my nostalgia by a modern writer. It's definitely a love letter to the Silver Age. You can feel Alan Moore's love for the characters in this. And I think this was probably back when Alan Moore still had a little hope in his life for comic books before he turned his back on it. And I don't blame him. I'm not judging him. I'm just saying this is back when he had his love for comics. And then he's got a couple other great stories in here. The Swamp Thing story, The Man Who Has Everything. And I think that's it. Those are the three stories in here. It's just a great book. For me personally, I loved this book. I've had it in several different formats, and this will be the format I stick with. The deluxe edition is fine. But look at this, how great Kurt Swan is with Murphy Anderson inks. Getting the look on Superman's face and everybody saying goodbye to him as he leaves the Daily Planet. It's just heartbreaking. And for a comic book to break your heart, it takes great writing. And this is actually Boland. It's actually Brian Boland after Anderson. Okay, I apologize. I just saw Boland's name because I thought I saw that it said the cover pencils, but that would be this cover that they did. That's Superman. This is by Brian Boland. Sorry. Brian Boland is a great artist.
He was probably trying to do a Kurt Swan impression to some degree. So that's probably why
he says after Swanderson, which is what they were known as.
And Marcelo has a good question for us, Jess, about rereadability. 859.
What makes a story rereadable? For me, it obviously should be a good story, but being short and standalone helps a lot. 1 through 3 issues is a good length. Good stories that are long impose a big commitment. True. One of my next choices, well, actually, my next 3 choices are long, but I love them so much that I do reread them. But that's a good point. 1 through 3 issues does add to its rereadability.
Yeah, so my next one is actually long. It's actually 2 runs put together because I think you have to read them together. And that's Bendis and Brubaker's work on Daredevil.
Oh.
I didn't want to get all the trades out because I have like 6 thick trades of these, not the Omnis. But I think this is my favorite Marvel run by far. I love this series. I know you really enjoyed it when you read it with me, Jess, last year at some point. I think this is the best Daredevil's ever been. I think Chip Zdarsky is starting to get up there, though. That run is fantastic. And I'm so excited to read more of it as it comes out. But I think these runs are just, you have to read them together because Bendis leads right into Brewbaker's, and it's like one long continuous story. And I know Jess and I still need to read Shadowland because overall I've heard people they hate the tie-ins for Shadowland, but the main series is actually pretty good. So I actually do want to check that out. But I think this is like one of the major bases for the TV show, just the mood of it and the atmosphere of it. I know The Man Without Fear miniseries by Frank Miller is a big commitment, not a big commitment, a big motivator for the TV show as well as Born Again. But the atmosphere and tone of this is very much a crime noir, which I love. And so if you haven't read these books yet, I urge you to pick them up. I think all these are kind of out of print, though. I think the omnibus is out of print. I think the complete collections are, at least some of them are out of print as well.
I would not be surprised if those get announced to be back in print, the omnis or the complete collections. I think that Marvel's very attuned to the fan now, thanks to Omar, that things are getting reprinted left and right. And I have every belief that those omnis will be almost considered evergreen from now on.
And I love these thick complete collections. They're awesome. Hopefully they reprint those as well, but I don't think they really reprint complete collections. So I don't really have much hope for it. But I think Bendis's overall is my favorite, but I think the Brubaker's run has my favorite Daredevil story, which is Devil in Cell Block D. And that's a great story, which I don't want to spoil for anybody who hasn't read it.
That is great. Let's see. Farhan had a question. Speaking of Crime Corner, Pulp or Reckless is better for you guys? And have you guys read any Catwoman by Cook Brubaker? Is it great? It is great. I think it's great.
I love it.
Yeah, you think it's great too. I've only read Pulp. I read Pulp when it first came out. I really liked it, but I felt like Reckless was a step above.
They're just so different. It's hard to compare them.
Yeah.
I like Reckless better overall because it's more in my style of crime book, which is PI detective stories. And it's really done very well. And I like both stories. I reread Pulp 2 weeks ago, actually, after we did our Reckless review because I was in an Ed Brubaker mindset. Mm-hmm. And it's fantastic. I love it. I still think I like Reckless better, though. I
still need to reread Cruel Summer.
That's my favorite that they've ever done.
That's why I need to reread it.
It was awesome. I think, to be honest, actually, I'll get into my final choice because it ties into this, which is Criminal.
First, we're going to talk about DyingBreedCollectors.com.
Where you can buy this.
New sponsor, DyingBreedCollectors.com. And you choose a Marvel Omnibus. You use the code OmniDog and get 10% off that Marvel Omnibus from right now, till the midnight Monday. So June 12th through June 14th. Go to DyingBreedCollectors.com. Use the code OmniDog. You get 10% off a Marvel Omnibus. Okay, now talk about Criminal.
This is my favorite non-Marvel or DC book. This is one of my favorite series. I love it. I've reread it many times, probably like 3 times, I would think at this point. I've read some of it, probably more than that, but I think this is just like the best that comics has to offer. It's fantastic. It's not just one of the best crime comics. It's one of the best crime stories you'll read. Not just read. You'll read in novel form, watch on TV, watch in movies. This is just the best that Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips have ever been. And Cruel Summer is my favorite part of this series, which I probably should have picked that off the shelf, but I didn't because I was stupid. But
no, I always get confused. Cruel Summer is not in that volume, right?
No, so it's Cruel. It's Criminal Volume 1, 2, and 3. Those recent deluxes by Image, and then there's Cruel Summer. But that recently just went out of print.
Cruel Summer did?
It did.
But it's part of Criminal Universe.
Yes, you do need it. I think I almost don't want them to come back to Criminal because I think Cruel Summer was the perfect capstone to that series, even though it takes place long before a lot of the other series. Because Criminal, each story arc is set in different eras, and it goes back and forth. But it's almost a great ending to the series, explaining the death of a really central character and who killed him. And it was just such an impactful ending. I almost don't want there to be more because it was so fantastic. I'd obviously read more, and I would love to see what they come up with, but I wouldn't be disappointed if they decided to move on with other things.
I just want them to keep churning out Reckless books right now.
As long as they work together, I don't care. I'll read it, no matter what it is. It could be like a My Little Pony book, and I'd probably read it to see what that would be like.
We need a new jingle for the new sponsor. I'll work on it. I do have my mouth harp here. DyingBreedCollectors.com. Okay, I'll work on it. And I agree with Cycle Cleveland. The way they started collecting criminal for this new run is annoying as fuck. I agree with that. I don't know the answer to this. Maybe?
It sounds like, based on Ed Brubaker's latest newsletter, that they're going to be reprinting a lot of their old stuff in standard size hardcovers. So it might be in that format, but I have no idea. Because they've been having a lot of luck with these standard size hardcovers, like with Reckless, with Pulp, with My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies. But I obviously want that oversized book if I can.
Screaming Fingers just got JSA Omni 1, 2, and 3, one of my secret shame books that I haven't read. Screaming Fingers, do you know about DyingBreedCollectors.com? If you don't, I'm going to be doing the plug throughout the rest of the show.
And Farhan's asking me about Brubaker and Daredevil's run. He wants to know why I like it better than Wade's run. Wade's run is fantastic. It's so different. It definitely has dark moments. We told this to Mark Wade last year. I know Jess hasn't read it yet, but I said to Mark Wade, I think your run kind of gets miscategorized as light and breezy. There's a lot of dark moments there, a lot of twisted moments. It's just that Chris Somney artwork kind of offsets a lot of the darker moments. And it is more hopeful overall because the entire run is about Matt Murdock overcoming depression and dealing with it and not ignoring it anymore. And so it's a really impactful run in that way. I just think that I like the crime noir aspect that Brubaker and Bendis bring to the series, which Wade kind of goes back to the 60s with the superheroics of Matt Murdock. Both are fantastic. I just like that crime noir atmosphere of Brubaker and Bendis, which I think Chip Zdarsky has gone to.
Thank you, Cycle. We do have somebody. I won't say it. Never mind. I don't want to draw attention to some viewer's weirdness.
I'll ask you.
I'm not talking about Cycle. Somebody else.
I'll ask you after the show.
Okay, yeah, I'll tell you after the show. Okay, Screaming Fingers, this is for you. DyingBreedCollectors.com is our new sponsor. Go there and use the code OmniDog and get 10% off any Marvel Omnibus from now until the end of the night, Monday, June 14th, midnight. Go there, pick out like all new Wolverine or Spider-Gwen or whatever else he has. He has a lot of Marvel Omnis. Get 10% off. That's like free money. It is free money. So go to DyingBreedCollectors.com. I'll have to work on that. Sorry.
Yeah, you plagiarized your own jingle. Brian Brewster has a big compliment for you, Jess.
Who does?
Brian Brewster.
Oh, Brian, I think you're a new viewer. Brian Brewster, just discovered your channel recently. I love your quirky sincerity and passion. Thank you. Your video at the Senior Center was great. Oh, thank you so much. Hope I find a wife like yours who supports my geekdom. Yeah, I got very lucky. I think that I got really lucky, and that Senior Center is the one my wife worked at. She's retired now, but that was a lot of fun, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for saying what you said, because I don't get any feedback unless it's from somebody writing in something like that. So thank you, Brian. That means a lot to both of us because Taylor's on a lot of my shows.
What's your next choice, Jess? That was all of mine.
The weird guy's not in the chat today, Cycle. So you don't have to. It's not you. It's some other weird thing that I'll call him out next time I see him.
He wasn't talking about you either, Hayden. At least I don't.
No. Everybody in the chat is that I recognize just about everybody in the chat, and everybody's pretty normal. Not you, Hayden. You and I are simpatico. We like the same stuff. Everybody in the chat, totally cool. I'll call out the weird guy when he comes in. He asks for weird things. No, his initials aren't TB.
Although Tyler Blunt is also really weird. He also didn't show up tonight, that jerk.
Well, I think he's in Chicago with his...
That's no excuse.
Yeah, no, it's not Tyler at all. Oh, okay. My Marvel book was my first introduction to X-Men. So it's my favorite introduction to X-Men. I've read it a couple times. It is an omni. It's a thick omni, so it's hard to reread. As to Marcelo's point, it's a long reread, but it is the one that made me fall in love with Emma, made me fall in love with the X-Men in general. I just read it cold, not knowing anything, and I was fine with it. It made me love it made me want to read more X-Men, and it turned me on to Astonishing X-Men and Uncanny X-Force, and that's Grant Morrison's New X-Men. I thought this book was compelling and fun, and I loved Emma and the Stepford Cuckoos. I think they are such a great invention. They've done so much interesting stuff with them. With the Cuckoos, they could do more. I don't know if I want to see them in their own series, but I think I would, with the right writer, I would like to see the Cuckoos and Emma in their own series. And don't make it 5 issues. Give me 25 issues of that and make it a hardcover. So New X-Men had the introduction, and it does have a lot of different artists. Most of the art that I happen to like Frank Quitely. A lot of people don't, but
I think he's the highlight of that run in the art department.
I agree with that, but I'm looking at all the art now, and the art that's not Frank Quitely is still pretty good.
The Igor Corley art is definitely the low point for me, and that kind of shot me out of the story at some points. Because the rest of the art was fantastic.
Yeah, I just love this book. Now that I have it back out, I think it's time. I love Uncanny X-Force, but I don't think that's a good first book, because I read it right when I read Astonishing X-Men and New X-Men.
I need to read Astonishing X-Men again. I love that book.
I think you need, because I love Phantom X, and that was my first introduction really to, besides New X-Men, was my first real introduction to Phantom X and Ava the World. But I was lost and was still able to deal with it because of Apocalypse. And so I don't think Uncanny X-Force is a good starter X book, but I read New X-Men cold and loved it. So I'm due to reread it. I'm just looking at the covers right now and how cool all the covers are. So it's a commitment, as Marcella pointed out, to reread a book this size. But it is worth it. I really love this book because it made me fall in love with Emma and the Cuckoos. She was my first Marvel crush. It has since, of course, spread out to Kitty Pryde and Rogue and Magic and all these other gals. So Scarlet Witch.
I was looking around at my collection when I was trying to figure out my choices for this episode, and there's definitely some books I've only read once that I know I'm going to reread a lot going forward. I burned through All New Wolverine, the omnibus. I'm going to reread that all the time. Like, that's going to be like every couple of years I'm going to read that. There was not a bad story. Every story was a plus. It was fantastic. I loved it. And
totally in my top 10.
I think that my next book I'm going to read is Superman Secret Identity, because that's my favorite Superman book. I've only read it once, though. I have to reread that again. So those are 2 books I know will join my list because I love them so much.
I almost pulled Secret Identity, but went for What Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. I love Secret Identity. I love Birthright. I love Secret Origins, but my favorite to reread is Secret Identity because it's so different and interesting.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna read that after the show's over for sure. Secret Identity.
Secret Identity. Okay. Have you already done all your books?
Yeah, I did all mine.
Do
you have one more?
I have two more.
Okay.
That's fine.
I think I kind of jumped on the bandwagon of Batman in the beginning.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I love All-Star Superman. I have reread it a ton. We had to get it down to 5, though. So I picked the 5 that, I mean, I could have put All-Star Superman in place of X-Men. Because I do read All-Star Superman a lot. There's a lot of love from me on All-Star Superman. That is one of his Morrison's most accessible books and one of the best Superman stories ever. So
I just picked the books that first came to my mind. There were some books from like with Year One and Dark Knight Returns, I was like, come on, man, be more original. But it's like that's the thing I like to reread. I reread that since I was 12 years old. And it's hard to beat that nostalgia like you have for whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, because that's the capstone to the Silver Age, which means so much to you.
Right.
So we had to pick the books that felt right to us.
Here's a good question. How can you get free shipping on Dying Breed Collectors? Stay tuned for future episodes. Today, 10% off at dyingbreedcollectors.com. Using the code OmniDog, you get 10% off any Marvel Omnibus. In the future, we'll be having other offers. Maybe not every show, but he's open to throwing out lots of offers, and I think that's great.
And Kenny Crayley has a good question for us, Jess, that we were kind of talking about a little bit earlier. I guess 40 years ago today, Raiders of the Lost Ark came out. So what was your first introduction? I'm guessing it was in the theaters for you.
1981?
Yeah.
I was definitely in the theaters, yeah.
I was 9 years down the pipeline.
I was 22. So let's see. It was a summer movie. Is it today, the 40th anniversary?
That's what he's saying.
Okay. So this is June, the middle of June. I was 20. It was 1981, so I was still at school because I had to take a summer class to get my degree. They gave me a piece of paper that I could walk through that said, take another course, then you get the real thing. So I saw it in the movie theater in Stockton, California, with a buddy of mine. So yeah, I saw it, and then I saw it 3 or 4 more times that summer.
I first came into contact with Indiana Jones in 2nd grade when a teacher showed us the clip from The Last Crusade with the leap of faith, that one challenge when he looked for the Holy Grail. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. I was like enraptured. Like, I have to watch this entire movie. It was like him getting across, and there was like a Campbell soup commercial from a VHS that she recorded on. And I was like, I have to figure out I'll never forget. It's a Campbell soup commercial right after he throws the rocks, the pebbles on it to light the way for everybody else. And I was like, no, what happens? And so I went home, and my mom's like, oh, we'll go to the library and go get it. It's a fantastic movie. So I watched Last Crusade first, and then I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom, and I just fell in love with those movies and movies in general in 2nd grade.
Today is Superman Day. Do you guys have a favorite Superman memory for comics and television animated moment? Well, today's Superman Day. I didn't know that.
Interesting.
Do you have a favorite Superman memory for television? I'll tell you, when I was 8 years old, the George Reeves Superman was still on. And I think it was the first episode, or whenever those little green men came out from the earth. It scared me as an 8-year-old. And of course, now you look at it and it's just little people dressed up in costumes climbing out of a hole. And it's not scary at all. But when I was 8 years old, it scared the heck out of me. That's
I'm trying to think. I used to love watching the Superman cartoon, the animated series that came after Batman animated series. I can't think of a favorite moment from that show. I think of a moment from the comics. I mean, obviously that moment from All-Star Superman where he talks the girl down from jumping off the building is pretty impactful. That's a hard one to beat in terms of moments that I can think of.
I agree.
I have to reread Secret Identity because there's so many awesome moments in that series. Like when I love towards the end where he has scenes with his daughters. That was really impactful.
Yeah.
So I would say it's probably from Secret Identity. I've only read it once. Maybe I'll get back to you after I reread it tonight on another show.
I still have 2 more books to go. Absolute Justice. I reread this once a year because I always forget the ending. First of all, it's Alex Ross, Paul Kroger.
I think it's Jim Kruger.
Jim Kruger. What did I say? Paul? I always say Paul.
You always call him Paul Kruger.
I know. I always say that. Is there a Paul Kroger out there or something?
You're saying Kroger like it's the supermart Kroger. Do you have Kroger's where you live?
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Kruger? Paul? Wait, Jim Kruger. Krueger wrote it.
Yeah,
awesome. With Alex Ross, awesome art. And it's about how all the supervillains are doing good in the beginning, and the JLA is trying to figure out what's going on. And I always forget what the twist is, so I always reread it and love it. I love rereading this book. This is where my memory being not that great really helps me because I forget the twist, and it's got this fantastic Alex Ross art with great writing by Krueger, and it's really fun. I love Justice. I don't know if it gets the love it deserves. I don't see people always bring up Kingdom Come first because that's obviously great with Mark Waid and Alex Ross. But I like this. I love Kingdom Come, but I love this more.
Yeah, Paul Kroger is so underrated.
Shut up. Is that my Lane Wayne gap?
Yeah, Paul Kroger. It's funny as someone who lived in Louisville, Kentucky for 2 years and went to Kroger all the time for groceries.
Anyway, I love Justice by those 2 guys.
In terms of an Alex Ross book that I know I'm going to reread a lot is Marvels.
Oh, yeah.
That's my favorite Alex Ross book ever, I think.
Yeah.
That's hard to beat.
I feel like that changed comics for me the way Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen changed it for me.
It's just so unique in terms of what it tries to accomplish. So often you're seeing the POV of the superhero, and almost every panel is looking up at the superheroes as the main characters watching what's going on. And I love that. I love that change of viewpoint.
Yeah.
It just wasn't really something you saw back then. Or even now very much.
No, not at all.
But I think, Marvels, I think my second favorite would have to be World's Greatest Superheroes by Dini and Alex Ross. And then it's Kingdom Come. I think Justice, I'm not saying it's bad. I love it. Out of the 4, it's probably my least favorite, though, even though I think it's great.
Well, you don't need to say least favorite. It's your 4th favorite.
There you go. They're all A's. It's just I have to pick a favorite,
Right. And then this changed my life. I'm not trying to be melodramatic, but when this came out, I think in 1970, this was so different and so amazing and so unbelievable. I want to make sure I have.
Did you pick more than 5 choices?
No, you just went all at once.
I was like, Jet, we usually go over the number allotment usually.
Yeah, 1970. I had seen Neil Adams' art before, and I'd read Denny O'Neil before. But when they took over, and I saw this cover on the newsstand, which I still have, it is slabbed and in a safe deposit box, and I will be buried with it. I'm not selling it. I only got it slabbed because I originally bought it, of course, to read. But now that I have this, I just got it slabbed, so I don't know, maybe my wife will pull it out of my casket and sell it on eBay.
You slabbed that issue?
Sorry?
You slabbed that issue, right?
This issue, yeah. The first one's 76.
I'll make sure to pull it out of your hands in the casket like Larry with his 5 iron.
3-wood? Was it 5-wood or 3-wood?
I thought it was is there a 5 iron? Is that a thing?
I think it was a wood. It was either a 3-wood or 5-wood.
I don't remember, but that's a great episode.
Yeah, this is 1970, and I was 11 years old. And up until this point, I had been reading Silver Age nonsense. I mean, 1968 was when Neil Adams came in and comic books got a little bit more serious.
Batman got a hairy chest.
Well, that was a little bit after when Denny O'Neil took over that, and his first meeting with Ra's al Ghul, or however it's said now. I'm going by the animated series. But this was an impactful cover. I was like, who the hell does Green Arrow think he is, shooting out the power battery? And how can he shoot out the power battery? Is it made of glass or what? So I opened it, and it's the first 3 pages, first 4 or 5 pages. This, of course, is one of the most famous scenes in comics history, where he's talking about Green Lantern helping working for the blue skins and helping the orange skins, and how come he's never done anything for the black skins. And I was, being an idealistic 11-year-old, I was like, I got to read this. And the run did not go on for very long. It only went to issue 90, maybe. And I remember, let's see, what was it? Was it issue? No. Issue 87, 88, 89. Wait, where's issue 90? Because 89, oh no, 86 and 80. Wait a second here. Something's wrong, because the last issue that was published as Green Lantern Green Arrow, I thought was number 90, because it had this long-haired guy strapped across. Oh, here it is. What issue is this? It was my mother. The reason I'm saying this, okay, it's 89. That was the last one. This image, I came out of the drugstore. That's where you bought comics at the time, on racks in the drugstore. My mother saw this and was appalled. It was a Christ-like reference with a Jesus-like Jesus-like figure strapped to the back of a jet airplane exhaust, and it wasn't the. There were a couple of issues in there. I mean, this is the first time we get to see John Stewart. And it's the drug issues where Speedy's a junkie. So there's a lot of great stuff that happens in just a few issues. There are a couple of issues, I'm going to assume, because Neil Adams had trouble keeping up with the art, that were fill-in issues, like a giant issue, a giant size issue reprinting Silver and Golden Age classics. So this book is rereadable. I reread this more than anything in my life, not this book, but the issues themselves when I had them. And I still have a lot of them. Some of them were weird. Like there was one about harpies, space harpies, and some Spiro Agnew looking guy that was on TV running a cult. And so not all of them were groundbreaking, but they all made an impact on me as a youngster and showed me at that point what comics could be. They could make a social statement. In your words, they were aspirational. They made me want to be a better person. They made me not want to be judgmental. They made me not want to be prejudiced. They made me want to treat people equally. Whether or not I've succeeded, we'll have to see at the end of my life when they play the movie of my life in front of my eyes as I'm dying, and I'll pick and choose my moments. But this book contains lots of morality plays and lots of adventure and excitement and aspirational heroes showing us we can be better.
Nman40 wants to know if that Absolute has glossy or newsprint-like paper.
I think they're newsprint.
That's pretty rare for an Absolute, isn't it?
Sorry?
That's pretty rare for an Absolute.
They're not glossy. Yeah, they're newsprinty, which doesn't bother me. The art is and the colors are still great. I'm not a snob when it comes to glossy or newsprint. It's never bothered me. Whatever the paper they come on, I understand that some people prefer glossy over newsprint or same difference, but that's okay with me. I'm just happy this thing came out in Absolute. The run to avoid is the run that came after this. The Space Traveling Heroes was crap. Don't get that. Same author, Mike Grell at his worst. I hated those books. It was such a letdown for Mike Grell to take over. Now Mike Grell's, of course, a much better artist, but boy, I don't know why they picked him to take over for Neil Adams. It was really, really, really disappointing as a kid to not have that Neil Adams art.
That was before his long Bowhunters run?
Yeah, way before.
Okay. So I talked about 3 books that I've only read once, but I know I'm going to reread with Marvel's Absolute, All New Wolverine, and Superman Secret Identity. Can you think of a series or a book that you've only read once, but you're pretty confident you're probably going to reread it a decent amount?
I think I'm going to be rereading New Mutants. It's a big book, but I really, really loved it. I'll be rereading New Mutants a lot. I just got Batman Earth 1, Book 3. Ooh. So I assume I'm going to be reading those 3 books over and over again because I've read 1 and 2 so many times. No, I've read Sandman 2 or 3 times. What have I've only read Why the Last Man once, and I need to reread that to see how well it's held up. Because some people have said it doesn't hold up. So I want to reread it myself. I've already read All New Wolverine several times. I can't wait to read it again. I need to reread all the Harley Quinns because they were great. The Connor Palmiotti Harley Quinns. I've only read those 2 or 3 times. I've read Volume 1 4 or 5 times.
Good choices.
Thanks. I suggest hardcover or trades of Saga the Swamp Thing over the Absolute. I know Cycle does not like the new coloring, and I agree. I kept my original hardcovers of Swamp Thing because I didn't dig the recoloring either. I can see why people like it, but to me it took away from the original sort of mysterious coloring that was in there originally, and took away from the atmosphere.
I really need to pick up the Alan Moore trades. I'm going to stick with the trades because I'd rather have the original recoloring. If I'm going to read a book from a certain era, I want to read it like as it was originally intended.
Yeah.
I think the only series I can think of where I love the recoloring is Year One, where David Mazzucchelli went back and recolored it himself. I think it's superior. That's very rare, though. Usually, they love it as much. But
I'll tell you 2 more books that I've read once but want to read again and again is Hick Avengers and Hick Fantastic Four. That Fantastic Four was my favorite Fantastic Four, and I've read a lot. I like to read Mark Waid's Fantastic Four again, but I really, really want to read Hickman's Fantastic Four again. That was amazing.
Yeah, I just got that omnibus in a couple weeks ago, the Mark Waid one. I got one of the last copies on the internet on
That's right,
on CGN. Like the day after it shipped, it went out of print.
Speaking of rereading books, here will be our final promo for Dying Breed Collectors. You need to go there. It's all one word, dyingbreedcollectors.com, and use the code OmniDog for 10% off any Marvel omnibus. And that code is good from now until the end of Monday, June 14th at midnight. dyingbreedcollectors.com and use the code. I'll just leave that up for the rest of the show because I think we're almost done. And use the code OmniDog for 10% off any Marvel Omni till the end of Monday, like at midnight.
And Hayden says that you really want to read the Sam Humphries Quinn again.
He's trolling me. I haven't read it yet. I keep buying it, but I'm going to read it because it's Harley. I just know how bad it is. I just don't want to. I don't want to read it, but I have to. Don't forget to hit that like button too, please, people. Lloyd Wong says, speaking to the new X-Men Omni, I like the collections because there were 3 books, and if I wanted to, I could stop and read something else before going in. That brings up a point about Avengers by Hickman and Fantastic Four by Hickman. You can't stop, especially in Avengers, and take a break, or you'll be lost. You have to read. Okay, I have to read it. My advice is do what I did and read it straight through. I started reading it. I took a break. I came back. I was completely lost and had to start over again. So if you want to tackle Avengers by Hickman and Fantastic Four by Hickman, I suggest you go all the way through. And it's not like it's homework. They're great comics.
Especially if you suffer from memento syndrome like Jess.
The what syndrome?
Memento syndrome. 5-minute amnesia.
Yeah. Comic amnesia.
Well, you tell me you usually have a good memory, but not for comics. You said everything else you usually do.
I have an amazing memory. I can remember things about my best friend from middle school that he doesn't even remember himself now. So, and I remember all kinds of things, but I think I just have read so many comics. It just pushes whatever new comic I've read has pushed all the old stuff out. And I don't know how like Omar and Riley can keep it all in there.
Would you say the memories that you make recently stick with you, or do you feel like it's more of like as a child and as a teenager, as a 20-something, that the memories really stick? Or do you feel like you can remember things well now that happened?
You mean like things that happened 4 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can still pretty much remember things from 4 weeks ago that happened to me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's reading matter that I have a hard time remembering for some reason. Here's a good question. Okay, dyingbreedcollectors.com, OmniDog, 10% off, Marvel Omnis, go. Jess, what is the best way to read old comics in your opinion? The 60s and 70s stuff can be hard to binge at times. First of all, I would say don't force yourself to read it. If it's not for you, don't feel bad. It's not for everybody. The early 70s stuff, the early Bronze Age stuff can be difficult. I remember Bronze Age JLA is where I quit because I just said enough. I was 17 and I said, I'm not interested in this anymore. And I don't have I have a fond spot in my heart for early Bronze Age Batman and Superman, but not the latter part of the Bronze Age. So the best way to read it, I would say, is because so much of it was just one and done stories, is just to read 2 or 3 issues at a time. And if you like it, keep going. And if not, don't force yourself. It's certain comics just aren't for everyone. I know what to recommend to Taylor and what not to, because I know he likes certain things. He doesn't like the older stuff. And so I would never think to recommend it to him. And that's not to say it's bad stuff. It just doesn't interest him. And that's completely legit. Not everything appeals to everyone, even me. I mean, I like to think I like everything, but there's stuff that doesn't appeal to me. They're in my house somewhere. I just found a box that had the first appearance of Silk, so that's pretty good.
All I know is I have to remind you about stuff a decent amount. That's all I know.
Yeah,
otherwise, you could have the best memory with your wife and your daughter, and I have no idea.
That is true. Yeah.
I can only speak to my experience.
Well, yeah.
That's what I was asking you. I was like, Jess, do you normally remember things from like a couple of weeks ago? I'm like, I'm just wondering if this is my experience with you, or if like your wife and your daughter are like, whoa, Dad has a great memory.
If I don't write, no, you're right. If I don't write it down or put it on the calendar, I will forget it. Yeah. No, you're right. Because I'm always asking you, what's the topic? I know that. Yeah. I'm the first one to admit that I always say, what's the topic? LOL. Because I can't remember it. If I haven't written it down, I try to remember to write it down, and I just never do.
Hayden, hey Jess, do you have the G. Willow Wilson hardcovers?
Shut up, jerk.
That's like whenever I told you had the dregs. Yeah. I had no idea that you had it.
That was the best.
That was hilarious. I'm like, Jeff, have you ever heard of the dregs? Right? I've never heard of the dregs before. I didn't even know it was a comic book. And I look up on YouTube, the dregs, and I see one of your haul videos, and I watch it, and it's like, oh, I bought the dregs by Black Mask.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, my memory has suffered as I've gotten older. All right, all right.
I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I was just...
No, you're right. I love it. Oh, wow. I love the fact that Hayden found those so fast on that haul.
Hayden can make a GIF or a meme in like 5 seconds.
Oh yeah, he captured that photo of me holding up the G. Willow Wilson hardcovers and sent it in before the episode was over. Where I was like, I haven't even heard of them, and I own them. So yeah.
And Gabriel, our newer viewer, is asking if we think Batman: A Death in the Family would be a good reread. I'm just not a huge fan of that story. That's just me personally.
Death in the Family and Killing Joke were popular books that I don't think I'm going to reread, just because I don't have. They weren't stories that I really cared for.
I'm just not a big fan of Jason Todd as Robin, and I know the whole point is that he dies. But it just wasn't impactful to me because I didn't like him at all. I thought he was a jerk, and I just didn't really like him. I like him better as Red Hood than I liked him as Robin.
Yeah, and I didn't like that they had a voter system on to kill somebody. That just rubbed me the wrong way.
Did you vote?
Me, no. That was a 900 number thing, right? You had to call up and it cost you $1 or something.
I think my one friend voted. I think he tried to vote to save him, but obviously he lost.
But he came back, so.
He did. I'm not even a huge fan of Red Hood in general. I like Under the Hood, the story. I like the animated movie. I'm just not a big Jason Todd fan overall. I much prefer Damian or Dick Grayson.
What about Tim Drake?
I don't really have much of an opinion about him because most of his stories come from the 90s, and that's not really my era of comics, even though I grew up in the 90s. I think he's fine. I really liked him in James Tynion's run. I guess for me, and I know a lot of people love him, I'm not trying to anger people, I just don't think he has much of a personality to me.
Tim Drake?
Tim Drake. I know a lot of people have turned with Damian. A lot of people like Damian now. He's my favorite Robin. I love Damian. I think he has the most personality. He has a great character arc. I don't really view Dick Grayson as Robin because he's been Nightwing for so long. And even though I love Dick Grayson, his personality is so distinct. I think he's almost the heart of the DC universe in some ways, and he's fantastic. I just think Tim Drake's a little bit bland for me. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, MM40 Taylor was alive. He just said he had a friend that called the 900 number.
Oh, well, he's like 45 years old. So.
Oh, were you alive? What were
I
you?
was born in 1990. I'm pretty sure that came out in the late 80s, didn't it?
Oh yeah, you weren't alive.
I wasn't alive. I was a sparkle in my dad's eye. Never understood that saying, but I guess it
I voted to kill him. I didn't think they would do it. Well, part of the problem, Rich.
If I had been alive back then, I would have voted to kill him because I'm the Dark Minister.
I never really cared for his character because the very beginning, he's stealing the wheels off of the Batmobile. How are you stealing the wheels off the Batmobile?
How is that getting shocked from that or something, or like electrocuted, or I don't know, something?
How are those not the most secure tires in the world? Somebody can just go jack the Batmobile off, but jack the up of its tires. I don't think so.
It's like in Naked Gun. Remember when they go to that one guy's office to see his new inventions, and they have those kids who are spray painting the fence, and the fence opens up and spray paints them. It's kind of like that. There should be some kind of defense mechanism.
Yeah,
protect from that.
You can ask, sure. I thought it was interesting at first, but at this point now it feels, knowing Alan Moore's history with women, I don't like what was going on in DC's offices at the time, where I can't remember if it was Lane Wayne or Danny O'Neill or whoever the editor was that said cripple the bitch, and they decided to go ahead and do it. I don't like the way Batgirl is treated in that issue. I understand the horror that it creates. I would have much preferred if Batman had just killed the Joker at the end of it instead of it being implied. It just seemed to be unnecessarily brutal towards Batgirl, and they seem to keep dragging it back to make Batgirl this scared little woman whenever it comes to the Joker. And I'd like to see my Batgirl more powerful, more confident, more sure of herself. Joker's not going to be able to pull that stuff on Catwoman. I don't see why Batgirl can't be the same.
I think it would have been different if they just had it be an Elseworlds tale. Instead, they rolled it into the main continuity. I think that book reads better as an Elseworlds tale because I think at the end, the ending's very ambiguous, and it's almost like, did he kill the Joker when he grabbed him?
Yeah.
I think that book works a lot better as an Elseworlds tale, and I think maybe you might even enjoy it better as opposed to it being a part of the mainstream universe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the whole thesis is, you're only one bad day away from being the Joker, basically. And I think also, like, the Barbara isn't a character in that story. She's an object. She barely has any lines. You never really see what happens to her. She has no agency. It's just what happens to her. If the story had been longer and she had a little more of a plot line, it could have been better. But it was just a way to get Batman and Gordon to want to kill the Joker, basically. Yeah. And I just think it would have worked a lot better if it wasn't forwarded into the mainstream universe. That's just my personal opinion.
I agree 100% with that. And Farhan's right. It's one of those comics that hasn't aged well. I don't think it has.
I don't think it's the crippling of her that's the issue. It's how it was done and how she wasn't really given any personality in that book or any page time besides just being the victim. That can be problematic.
It's not the crippling of Batgirl that's the issue, Cycle. It's what Taylor just said about how she was treated as more of an object and not really given anything other than as a means to upset. It's kind of like in Hit Girl 2, where they rape the girl just to get the hero angry. Did we really have to have that rape? It seems gratuitous. It seemed gratuitous to me. That's just my personal opinion.
I think if you're going to tackle rape in any medium, it has to be really well done, and it can't be used as a simple plot device. it has to be used to maybe explore the issue or explore the effect that it has on people. I think it just, especially in the early 2000s, it was just all over the place. It was just everywhere.
Did I say Kick-Ass? Yeah, Farhan, I meant Kick-Ass 2. Sorry.
I'm not saying it can never be used in a story, but I think if you're going to use it, you better do it rightly, and it better not be just a mean. It better not just be a means to an end.
And that's what it seemed like the crippling was to me, or the attack on her was to me, was just a way to forward the story, move the story forward, give them a reason to be angry. And I don't dig it. That's just my opinion.
I mean, obviously, The Killing Joke's considered one of the best Batman books of all time from a lot of people, so you can have any opinion you want about it. I like it more than Jess does, but it's not one of my favorites. I think it has issues. I don't think that's just my personal opinion. And I agree with him that I don't like Barbara Gordon not really having any part in the story beyond just being crippled, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, Baturdays is about Batman right now. That's good. We're getting back to our roots.
Well, I know we want to talk about the new Batman Earth 1 book because I read it early. I got it at Barnes & Noble before it came out somehow, which is pretty cool. And then I think we want to finish out Tom King's run because we're losing hope on a final deluxe.
And Batman's Grave too, right?
I already read that too, so I'm ready to go on that one.
Okay. Identity Crisis was awful, Farhan. I hated that book. I don't own it anymore. That got purged quickly. So the chat's all talking about Killing Joke, which is fine. As long as the chat's engaged, that's what I care about. Chat away. Talk about what you want. That's fine with me.
Hated a Baturdays about Batman. What is this nonsense?
When was the last Batman episode we had?
I don't even remember. Well, at some point we were going to run out of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I know. But nobody's jamming us up for it. Everybody enjoys our just chatting about stuff.
Chip, that's a great question.
That is a great question.
I hope so. I don't want to spoil anything for Jess about Earth 1 Volume 3, but I definitely would say it seems like it's leading into more. I know some people said, oh, well, this seems like the end. I guess I thought it seemed like it was leading into more based on the ending. I'm hoping we get more. I would love to have an omnibus. We don't really have any examples of them having omnis of any other books. Like the JMS Superman, Earth 1, that's wrapped up. They did nothing with that. Grant Morrison just wrapped up his Wonder Woman run with Earth 1, so maybe in the next couple of years we'll start seeing some omnis released.
I did like the first Hit Girl, but I did not like Hit Girl 2, and I stopped reading Hit Girl after that. And I did love the Hit Girl movie.
I've just managed to read all the Mark Miller books that are good somehow. I've avoided all the bad books by him.
What are the good books?
Red Sun. Yeah. His Wolverine stuff is awesome. Magic Order.
Yep.
And I like I know the Authority has a lot of the Mark Miller issues, but I do like Mark Miller in that run. I know there are a lot of people have issues with that run. I see them, and I understand why people don't like his Authority issues, but I still liked his arc on that book.
And I like Jupiter's Legacy, even if the Huck was good. I like that.
I've just never read them, so I can't speak to that. But everything I've read by him, I've enjoyed. I've seemed to avoid all the ones that people hate.
It came up because I used Killing Joke. Hit Girl 2 is an example of using something against a woman.
I don't know. I think there is implied sexual assault in that book, though, with him taking
Killing Joke.
With him taking pictures of Barbara Gordon undressing her. I think there is some implied things going on there beyond just crippling her.
Okay. We don't need to keep going on about that.
I was just saying that's what I know. We were talking about.
No, you helped me with that answer. Convince me that we don't need to talk about it anymore.
Hayden, it's almost been a year since a Batman episode of Baturdays. Even more nonsense.
What's our favorite book by Alan Moore? Top 10.
I haven't really read as much by him as other people have. I guess it would be Watchmen. It's probably an unoriginal answer, but I haven't read a Swamp Thing yet.
Oh yeah, that is good. I love top 10. I think oh gosh, I love Promethea. Huh. I'll stick with top 10. No one's keeping track.
All right, Cycle. Don't grammar Nazi me here with inferred or implied. Come on.
Marianne, don't am I mixing up Hit Girl and Kick Ass? I think Kick Ass 2 is the book I'm talking about. It's okay. Kick Ass 2 is the book I'm talking about. I don't know. Is there a Hit Girl book now? I don't know. I've stopped following it.
I never read any of it, so I know there is a Hit Girl series.
Batgirl Year 1 was good. So was Robin Year 1. I like both of those. Promethea was really good. Maybe I should say that instead of top 10. But I haven't read Promethea in a while. So I'll stick with top 10 because that's not controversial at all. Oh, Tom Strong was great too. That's right. Okay, well, we can finish up with DyingBreedCollectors.com. Go to DyingBreedCollectors.com from now until the end of Monday, June 14th, 2021. Use the code OmniDog and get 10% off a Marvel Omni or several Marvel Omnis. I don't know if he's going to limit you or what. Try ordering all of them. Try buying every book in there for 10% off and see what happens. It's fine with me. I did cycle. I did buy some records today. I went to the record store and bought records. Do you want to see them?
You went out into the world.
I went out into the world. I stood in line for 15 minutes to get into the record store.
I just finished a sci-fi book that I think that you'll relate to more than any other book in the history of mankind, Jess. It's a series called Murderbot, and it's about like a android robot guy who he's designed it's for security and combat, but he hates people and he just wants to watch soap operas all day on his on his video screen. I was like, this just reminds me of Jess. I don't want to go out into the world and see people. I want to read and watch about people because I hate people.
Let me get my records really quick.
I was like, this is the most relatable character for Jess Bragg that's ever been created.
Actually, Cycle, I thought of you at the record store today because there's a huge Gang of Four box set out there now. There's a huge Gang of Four retrospective box set. This is for Cycle Cleveland. What I got for record store day. These two were not record store days, but I love the Feelies. These were Feelies albums. The Good Earth. And In Between, two really good Feelies albums. I'm sure this sounds crummy, but it was the first sessions of Joy Division playing as Warsaw. This has to be crummy condition, but I love Joy Division. I'm sure they're demo tapes that sound awful, but for completionist sake, I had to get it. My record day purchases were Hooverphonic, remixes for the new Stereophonic Sound Spectacular, the classic album. Record store day. This is Daniel Lanois, Heavy Sun, and the London Suede. What do you think of those picks? There will be another record store day in July if you missed this record store day.
And Farhan, I don't have a physical copy of JMS's autobiography. I rented that off from the library on my Kindle. But it's called Becoming Superman, And I did a review of it on my Instagram page at Minister of Comics. So you can see a picture of the cover on my Instagram page, which you should follow and like and comment.
Right. And I will put his, for some reason I pictured Jess standing in line at a record store wearing a jean jacket, Chuck Taylors, and chewing bubble gum. I wore what I have on right now.
You sound like George Costanza. I'm a bootlegger, baby.
I wore my Batman t-shirt, shorts, and my regular shoes.
And Cade, I have read Batman Earth 1, Volume 3, but I'm under strict orders not to say anything to Jess what I thought about it, so I cannot say anything, but we will review it sometime.
He can't even hint whether he liked it, disliked it, loved it. I don't want to know any opinion till I read it, because it'll influence me.
It must be exhausting to be married to you.
Must be.
It must be exhausting for any of our wives to be married to us. Me, you, and Tyler. Well, Tyler's probably the most exhausting. Actually, I know he's the most exhausting.
And I will put our Instagrams in the description, and I will put our all these books in the description too. Taylor, can you send me the books you picked, and I'll put my books in there too.
Will do.
So once again, go to Dying Breed Comics for 10% off any Marvel Omni, and let them know that you love them. Dying Breed Comics. So thank you very much for tuning in. Oh, good. All of Jess's Record Store Day purchases passed the cycle. Cleveland test. Good. Where can they find you on the internet?
As I said a couple minutes ago, you can find me on Instagram at Minister of Comics. I post my hauls, I do reviews, and I also do some toy photography every once in a while. And I just started doing reels as well. So I've been getting a lot of views off of that, which is cool. So follow me if you're interested.
And you can find me on Instagram on Omnidogs _vault. Where I haven't put up anything in like a week. I always go on there for a day and just blurt out a bunch of pictures. And then
you post like 10 pictures at like 2 a.m.
I do, yeah. And then I forget about it for a week. So thank you to everyone in the chat. We appreciate it. You guys were great today. I love everybody in the chat. You guys were wonderful. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I don't know, N-Man 40, if he does or not, if he comments in here. Thank you all very much. The chat was great tonight. Very active, very interested and interesting. I appreciate that. And to all the viewers out there watching, thank you. Thank you to DyingBreedCollectors.com for sponsoring us. And peace and love. Peace and love.